Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. It's Onepeg. Hi, how are you? Good morning. We have a new GBMM gear score-based matchmaking system that has been built into the latest patch for Dark and Darker. The question is, what and how does it work? Well, the folks over at the wiki have done us the favor of data scraping out exactly what those breakpoints are, what the point values are, and how to calculate everything. But there are a couple of nuances in here that I think are very, very important to go over because it will skew how you look at building your loadouts for when it is that you go into runs. Now, I will say on the onset, we know that this is not the final iteration or anything. This is like the first pass. We are testing it to see if it even works, if it's even something that we like, and I know that there are a lot of heated opinions about this. I'm not here to give my opinion on what I think of the gear score system. I'm merely showing you how it works so that you guys can adjust your builds if necessary, if you're head scratching and wondering how you're getting into certain types of lobbies. Okay, so here I am on the test server. This is only for illustrative purposes. The patch is on live, but this was an easy thing for me to do because I don't have a whole lot of gear, and most of what I have is stuff that I've collected kind of along the way. So you notice I still have a gray Oracle robe and stuff, and this is important, and I'll get to the point as to why it's important, how this breakdown is set up. But I have a blue longsword, a blue spellbook, a white hood, blue legs. I have a blue ring, green ring, blue gloves, purple cloak, right? But there's like this weird mix of stuff. Now, according to the current gear score system, this loadout with the stuff that is in my inventory and all the stuff that I'm wearing is all considered to be mid-tier bracket, and I'm going to explain why. So on the wiki, this is what we have for the breakdown. Two-handed weapons, one-handed main hand, one-handed offhand, head, hands, foot, chest, legs, back, the accessories, so your jewelry, and then utility items. And just so that everyone is on the same page, utility items also include instruments. It is anything in your inventory that has the word utility in the tooltip, like potions or your torch or a lockpick. What is not included and does not have a gear score at all, has no points awarded to it, are things like gold coin purses, things that don't have a slot type, like silver coins, gold coins. They don't have a category. These gear score items are all given a point value. Two-handed items, like the two-handed longsword that my warlock has on, is 60 points. The one-handed sword, if I had a one-handed like a Chris dagger, would be 36 points. Head, hands, and foot have a slightly different point value, point weight than chest, legs, and back. Accessories have their own point values, etc. So if you're wondering what this relatively simplistic loadout for my warlock actually comes down to in terms of gear score, the answer is 243 points. Now, of course, you're like, okay, that's fine and good. Well, thanks for letting me know what the points are. So what's the point? Well, the point is what the brackets break everything down to, right? There are 3 bracket levels. So if I look at this kit at 243 points for what it is that I am wearing, that breaks me off into 3 different potential brackets. The first one is 0 to 199 points, which I am above the threshold. The second is a medium gear bracket, which is 200 to 399, which is where I would end up. And then the high gear bracket, which is 400 plus. Because of the weighting of the spellbook and the sword being 120 points by itself, if I wanted to drop down to low gear, I could. If I swap out this spellbook and the longsword for, let's say, a starter spellbook and a falchion, which would put me in the low gear bracketing. See how this works? Unfortunately, this starts to break apart a bit because you could end up having a whole lot of additional magical damage, let's say on your jewelry, let's say it's greens, and then be rocking like a starter spellbook, but have all of the plus damage on it anyway and still end up in the low gear lobby. That could potentially be something that gets abused, don't get me wrong. But it gets even more weird than this. Remember how I said that this was 243 points? Well, that's only partially true. Yes, what I'm wearing is 243 points, but it doesn't just count what I'm wearing. Remember, I also said that point values get applied to utility items like potions and meds and keys or lockpicks and torches and all that stuff, right? All of that stuff has a point value. These are 2. These are 3 each. These, because they are normal quality, are 4. This is 6. And this blue potion of invisibility is 8. That is an additional 78 points. That additional 78 points on top of the 243 points for what it is that I already have on puts me at 321. Now, if I did some very minor upgrades to this build, let's say I have a blue hood, a blue chest, and some blue boots, right? That would skew the points a little bit higher, but nothing crazy. I would still be considered mid-grade. But on the meds side, if I decided that I was going to go, instead of having gray potions and gray bandies, these were white quality items instead, just one category higher in quality, that would skew the points to add an additional 96 points worth of meds just by having this loadout as my go-to loadout, with having a blue chest, blue boots, and a blue hood. That would be the only change, and then I would be at 400 points. Now, some people would argue that having that many meds in your inventory and the meds meta being what it is, sucking down potions and bandies and that kind of stuff, you're justified in being forced into having to play with all the really big boys. I would personally argue that a loadout that looks somewhat like mine wouldn't necessarily stuff me in a bracket that is going up against guys that are all in bis purples, but that's just me. The idea here is that you can see already how this can be gamified a little bit. Like this loadout by itself, just by having less meds in my inventory, can be below that 199 point threshold to keep me in the low tier bracket so that I end up fighting against pure Timmies that are running around naked with like a blue falchion. Right? And that's the big difference here. It goes without saying that I think that this is going to have to be a little bit more elegant than what they've done right now with like the quality of gear, given how the leap from grays to whites to greens is as significant as it is. But you absolutely could end up finding people that are going in to try to kill troll boss and stuff by utilizing whatever breakpoints that they possibly can to keep just under those thresholds. And that's the most important part. But my job here is to educate you guys to get the word out so that you understand how this whole thing works and be able to plan your builds accordingly. So that way, at least you can do some rough calculating and decide whether or not you're going to end up in a bracket with the big dogs, or if you're going to end up kind of somewhere in between or on the low end, if that is your intention. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming and checking out the video. My name, once again, is Onepeg. If you would be so kind as to sub the channel here, maybe even hit the bell, that would be amazing. I would really, really appreciate it. It really, really does matter, believe it or not. Also, if you wouldn't mind coming by a stream sometime, I stream around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time just about every single day at twitch.tv/Onepeg. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.